All right, we are in it for the Witchwood. This is probably my favorite expansion. I love it so much. Of course, if you don't know what's going on, I'm changing these cards to make a lot of them more in line with Wild, reverting some nerfs. Sometimes, if I really think a card needs to be nerfed in some way, I'll nerf a card and stuff like that. It's supposed to be similar to like if there was a twist set. So a lot of these are for Wild, but sometimes I will change cards for what I think could be interesting if they're added to core. And yeah, that being said, we're always starting with Druid, so let's get into it. Starting with Gloom Stag. Okay. This card is really interesting. It was one of the rotated early cards from Witchwood because, with all the odd and even cards. I think I would like to change this to an even card, personally, because I like even Druid a lot more, but I'm going to keep it in theme. I think you just bump it down to like a 3-mana 1/4, and then it will become a 3/6 if you have odd cost cards +2/+2. Is that interesting? No. But would this be more in line with the game today? Oh, for sure. It's definitely not the strongest thing ever. Maybe you could like 5, so it's a 3/7 and it's overstated, but like 3/6 is definitely fine for a taunt. This card still would see absolutely no play, not because it's technically bad, but because Odd Druid sucks, and you wouldn't really run this card in Odd Druid anyway. Oops, not 6. Yeah, I don't know. It's just a lot of cards that are in these kind of mechanics and archetypes wouldn't really work because they just aren't good, Like, the mechanic sucks, Odd Druid is not good, and Odd Druid doesn't play around a card like Gloomstag. This card fundamentally doesn't work for Odd Druid. So another thing that I was thinking is, if your deck has only odd cost cards, only odd cost cards, your hero power gives +1 attack and armor. That's not how you spell attack. Yeah. Lower the stats just before. Battlecry, if your deck has only odd cost cards, your hero power gives +1 attack and armor. I guess it would be... And then this puts it in line with, the Groovy Cat and... Oh god, what's it called? Free Spirit, the Festival of Legends cards. I think this fits an Odd Druid a lot better than just stats. Maybe you could, increase this maybe to like a 1/5. You don't want to. I don't think the minion should have crazy stats, to be honest. I think a 1/5 is probably fine. It's pretty standard for a taunt minion. And then you couple the attack and armor in one card, which is why it's not going to be as good as a Groovy Cat or a Free Spirit, where they are selective. The Free Spirit is just armor, the Groovy Cat is just attack. This couples it. It has taunt. It's a better body. Maybe you could... I don't know. I think maybe like this actually would be a little, interesting, more interesting stats. I think it starts as a 2/6 anyway, so this is just like -1 health from the original. Maybe -1 makes a little more sense, but I don't care. Odd Druid's not very good, and giving it some form of buff would not be the end of the world. It just wouldn't. Odd Druid is a questline deck almost exclusively, so this would help the questline game plan, and that's kind of where I'm thinking of it. Then you have Duskfallen Avionic. This card, absolutely atrociously terrible. Horrible card. It's one of the worst cards ever printed. I think you do Dormant. Is that how Dormant cards work? 1 second. No, I looked at a card. It's Dormant for 3 turns. On each player's turn, the first card they play costs 0. So if you play this on 5, it'll awaken on turn 8. And then it will be your first card cost 0. I don't think that's an issue. You have to do 5 mana, do nothing. It takes up a board slot, which makes your removal cards in Flipper Friends and Scale of Onyxia a lot worse. I don't think this makes the card that much better, to be honest with you, but it makes it actually have at least a use. You can at least have a purpose for playing this card. It'll make some kind of bad combos at least doable in Druid, and that's kind of what is interesting about it. Maybe you would tweak the Dormant to be 4 turns, maybe, and that would be a little bit But the way that the card currently works is on each player's turn, the first card you play costs 0. If Duskfall and Aviana is the first card you played, that doesn't matter. So your opponent gets the effect immediately. That was why like putting it as dormant will make it so like once it awakens, it gets this effect, and then you wouldn't have played a card on the turn yet, so it does work. For Hunter, I mean, come on, dude. It's Houndmaster Shaw. This card was so popular and so good the first year it was in the game. You ran this in like Big Beast Hunter. It was great. Saw a lot of play. I think you just battle cry for the rest of the game. Your beasts have rush. Oh yeah. Battle cry for this game, your beasts have rush. On paper, this is relatively the same as what Houndmaster Shaw did in the past and would currently still do. Houndmaster Shaw doesn't give himself rush anyway, so it's because it says your other minions have rush, so it's still a 4-mana 3/6 kind of do nothing. I think this would be more in line where if a card like this were printed today. Would it be too strong? Maybe. I wouldn't really count on that though, but it is a possibility. I don't know. I think this is just better. It's just more in line. I think this one isn't really that debatable by people. Shaw went in, Big Beast Hunter, making it so Big Beast Hunter always has rush on their beasts. I think that's fine. I think also beast is capitalized. I think that this is fine. Like, compare this to something like the Stone Right, where your totems have +2 attack for the rest of the game. I don't think this is any crazier at all. A lot of beasts already have rush anyway, so it's not like it really affects stuff like that. I think this is fine, completely. The only scenario I think this might have, like, an issue is, like, what's it called? Hydralodon? Because Hydralodon technically becomes an infinite board clear, but, like, so fucking what, dude? It's a 7-mana card that you have to have another 4-mana card played first to combo with. You could just make it say, like, the rest of the game, beasts you play, like if it was just, like, beasts you play, so it wouldn't count for the heads, because those are summon, that would be fine. But I think this is just fine as is. Another card that I think would be really interesting with a change is Hunting Mastiff. At 2 mana, it's just terrible. I mean, like, you can play 5 of them in a turn, and that's not really that great. I think at 1 mana, this card has some serious potential to be interesting, especially in the Marsh Queen quest. I think that this card instantly goes in that deck because you can complete it a lot faster with a card like Hunting Mastiff. This is, of course, not counting the buff that I made where it was 4, because I think 4 would work a lot better. Because that's in a vacuum. This is in a vacuum where it's the same regular Marsh Queen quest. I don't think a fucking 1-mana 2/1 with Rush Echo makes anything really crazy outside of that deck. Maybe this is really good in like a Beast Hunter, and that's fine. Beast Hunter is unplayable garbage right now, and it could use a buff like this. I think this is just fine. I like this kind of idea. I think Echo is a really fun mechanic that we should get back, honestly. It can be cool. We got Magnetized back from Boomsday, so Echo could be something we see again, and it's just interesting. There are no, like, you can't really reduce the cost of beasts that really efficiently anyway. Plus, the way that Echo works is that you can't have a Echo mini or an Echo card go below 1 anyway. So I think that Hunting Mastiff to 1 should have been where it was at, but yeah, I can understand why they didn't want to print it like that back in the day. It should be where it is at now, though, if you want a card like this to be good. For Mage, we have Black Cat. This card actually saw a little bit of play in Odd Mage over the years. I mean, Odd Mage has never been great, but I don't see why it couldn't just be a 1-mana 1/3. Spell damage, 1-mana 1/3, spell damage +1 is already a card with, oh god, it was added in Skullomance, part of the spell damage mage package. I forget what it's called. It was in that expansion, though. So it's not really out of the question. And then the conditional upside is if you have only odd cost card, draw a card. It's like, I mean, it's got a condition to draw a card. I don't think that's an issue. I think this is where a card, like, I think this would be fine if these odd and even cards were printed today, Black Cat would probably be something like this, to be honest with you. It's not too crazy by any means. I think this is probably where the card just should be. I don't really, there's not much to say about it. It's just, it puts it more in line with what it should be. And then we have Cinderstorm. I think Cinderstorm should be 6 damage. I think that randomly split amongst all enemies effect cards should deal more damage than their traditional counterparts. You know, and Mind Blast is already fucking 2 mana deal 5 anyway, dude, so. Something like Fan the Hammer is 4 mana deal 6. I think Fan the Hammer should be 4 mana deal 8, personally. Would that be too strong for Standard? Maybe. But in Wild, that would be fine. Cards that are randomly split should deal more damage than what they're, you know, effectively based on. Like Fan the Hammer being Fireball, Cinderstorm being like Lava Shock, or Kill Command, or other 3 mana deal 5s. So 6 damage, easy change, easy change. It's not really anything special. Would this card see play? Probably not, but it's at least this tiny little buff that it could get. Paragon of Light. So Witchwood is the expansion where Rush was introduced. And not very many minions have Rush, and not very many of them are good, even with Rush. So I was thinking, why couldn't Paragon of Light have Rush? Has Taunt, Rush, and Lifesteal. Super simple change. Super basic. No reason why this couldn't be the way the card is now. It's just so simple. Like, why couldn't it just have add Rush? You know? It would have been significantly better. It makes the card a lot better. It already has a condition of having 3 or more attack. So it's not just a 3 mana 2/5 with Taunt, Lifesteal, and Rush. It's just... Come on, dude. Come on, Blizzard. Come on. Prince Liam. So... when the United and Stormwind Paladin quest came out, which is play 1 mana spells, or 1 mana cards, sorry, a lot of people experimented with Prince Liam. Obviously, it was terrible because it's 5 mana 5/5 do nothing. I think the first thing you do is you bump it down to like 3 mana 3/3. And then I think transform all 1-cost cards and legendary minions, draw 1. Super simple, super basic. It has a condition of only 1-cost minions. It's still bad. It's a meme high roll card. No reason why it couldn't just be like this. You know? I get that maybe random legendaries are super good in Standard, and especially during the time of Witchwood, it was a 4-set meta, stuff like that, right? But this is Wild we're talking about. Random legendaries are fucking terrible in Wild. So Liam can have 2 buffs. I don't think that that's too much of an ask. I'm going to be honest with you. For Priest, we have Coffin Crasher. This card is actually really interesting when it first came out. Like, you had Mechathune Priest that could play this card, and just Priest was really cool with like a Death Rattle idea with Coffin Crasher in general. I think you just super simply bump it down by 2 mana and -2/-2. 4 mana, 4/3, Death Rattle, summon a Death Rattle minion from your hand. Is this too much? Maybe. If you summon something like Scrapyard Colossus, maybe. But you could also just lower it, right? Death Rattle minion. That costs, I don't know, maybe 5 or less from your hand, right? You bump down Coffin Crasher by a lot. Now you can tempo it out. It's similar to the Demon Hunter, what's it called? Forge in the Barrens Death Rattle package, where Death Rattle summons a Death Rattle minion, costs whatever from your hand. I think this is interesting. I like it a lot, honestly. It would bring a kind of tempo Death Rattle Priest. Could be playable with it. That would be cool. You will cheat out something like a Sludge Belcher or a... God, I can't remember the name. I'm so bad at naming cards when I'm doing these videos. The 5 mana 3/3 Taunt Divine Shield that draws your highest cost minion, that card, you can cheat that out. Priest has other Death Rattles that are usable to cheat out, and should be cool. I don't know. Coffin Crasher is just a really cool card in my opinion. I like Mechathune Priest. This does kind of kill Mechathune Priest, don't get me wrong, but Mechathune Priest fucking sucks, so I don't think it's that big of a deal to push a more Death Rattle focused Priest. Obviously, I'm going to talk about Glitter Moth. I mean, come on. If your deck has only odd cost cards, double health of your other minions, this has nothing to do with the Priest hero power. So, If your deck has only odd cost cards, your hero power heals for 2 more this game. Wow, right? Oops. So now it's heal 6, right? I don't think for 5 mana that's really good. I think maybe for 3 mana, and then you just make it like, I don't know, like a 3-2, something like that. Just nerf the stats pretty significantly. I was considering, what if you made it so your hero power deals damage instead of heals, so it would like have a permanent like Auchenai effect, but I don't really know how you would word that with 2 cards. Maybe it would be something like, actually I have no idea how you would make it work like that. I think you would have to have just another card. Like eventually I'm going to do mini sets for every expansion. That's something that someone recommended, and I'm like, oh, that's a really good idea, right? So I was thinking, okay, what if I had mini sets, and then in one mini set, I'm definitely going to add like a permanent Auchenai effect. It would probably be like 5 mana. A permanent Auchenai definitely should be really expensive or have like a condition. So it'll probably be something like that. And I think that would fit perfectly in this kind of deck. So for right now, Glittermoth, your hero power heals for 2 more this game. Definitely feels like it fits the hero power a lot more, though. Your hero power is going to heal for 8 if you play 2 Glittermoth, and that's kind of really funny, actually. Because that just doesn't matter. It just doesn't actually do anything. It's really funny. Phased Collector, a super, super cool legendary that we never really got much of anything from. It kind of sucks. I don't see any reason why this couldn't be 2 mana. Instead of only being able to play it 3 times in a turn, you can now play it 5 times. Oh no! Right? Like, oh no! You get 5 random legendary minions in Wild. Oh no! Shiver me timbers, right? Like, I get that in Standard having random legendaries is a lot more powerful, but in Wild, there's so many bad ones. So many. If you get anything that's like more than like 6 or 7 mana, it's just unplayable. So like, yeah. Like, yeah, obviously you can high roll and get really good legendaries, but like, it's not like Rogue is going to get better by a card like Phased Collector. It just lets you have more fun, So I don't see any issue with this. I've seen numerous people talk about how you can buff Spectral Cutlass in Wild over the years, and I think one of the weirder ways is what I'm going to go for, is you actually give it more durability on the weapon. It's no surprise to anyone that playing stolen cards is bad. It just sucks. It's really bad to play stolen cards. So instead of making it so that the weapon is cheaper or has more attack or more durability to start with, I'm thinking, okay, what if you have to play less, stolen cards, generated cards, to get more durability on the weapon so it doesn't go away as quickly, right? You can build a deck more centered around gaining attack on the weapon, similar to like a Kingsbane that still has a lot of potential to be destroyed, but you can run less Thief cards so that you don't have to have a dog shit deck, because Thief cards suck. For people that want to run Thief cards and have fun with it, it doesn't make any real difference. It makes it so like if you get really bad hits, you're not as upset. I don't think buffing the mana cost, the durability, the attack, or anything like that really makes the weapon more interesting in any way. I think this is the one way that makes it more interesting, because running bad or having to play bad Thief cards feels bad. It just does feel bad. So Spectral Cutlass having 2 durability makes it so you're not as upset when you hit really bad options. And it's not like the card suddenly becomes really fucking good. Like, it's still auto loses to weapon removal. If you hit really unplayable garbage, like actual like unplayable cards, it's still gonna have that issue. If you don't draw the Thief cards, it's still going to have that issue. You still have to have weapon buffs for it to be good. This card still has so many conditions before it can do anything that I don't think a +2 durability change really changes much. Agatha the Witch. Wow! I mean, come on. Agatha the Witch going to 6 mana, like, come on. Come on. It's so expensive at 8. It could be 5, but I don't like the idea of Hagatha being 5 personally. I think that 5 mana deal 3 to all minions and gain 5 armor and have the Hagatha effect is probably a little too much for Shaman. It just probably is, let's be honest here. Yeah, I think that's just the main reason. The hero power is fine, doesn't need to be changed. The card itself, just the battle cry doesn't need to be changed. The armor cost doesn't need to be changed. Just the mana cost, bump it down by 2. Now it's like a pretty useful value engine for like a lot of late game matchups. You can get some random spells. Not the end of the world. This card probably still doesn't even see any play because getting random spells kind of does suck. So there is that. But I don't think giving Shaman, just 5 mana, deal 3 to the board, heal 5, and get the random spells is that good for the. I just don't think that's good. I think that at 6 definitely fits in line more where the card should be today. Totem Cruncher. I think Hear me out. Destroy all totems, gain +2/+1 for each destroyed, and you give it more attack. Okay? This would make it so you have a pretty decent tech option in Shaman against even Shaman. But because it's so hyper-specific, it's not going to be seeing that much play. However, I gave it more attack, and then, of course, it just I lowered the health so that you could still run it in even Shaman as an aggressive option. Would it be great? No. Not in the slightest. But you could, and it would help you in the mirror a lot. I think that is something that is significant, is like when even Shaman does come back, and it will eventually. We're obviously going to get more Shaman totem support. Having a card that is useful in the mirror is interesting. Mirror matches in Hearthstone a lot of the time do suck, and without cards that help push the mirror forward can be really abysmal. Talk about the questline Druid mirror back in Yogg meta. You started running Groovy Cat because if you didn't run Groovy Cat, the mirror fucking literally went to fatigue every single game. With Groovy Cat, that wasn't the case, so that definitely made it more interesting. And I think cards that make mirrors less boring are good for the game. Totem Cruncher would help a Totem Shaman mirror for sure, and even Shaman mirror. And I don't really see an issue with this. I'm gonna be honest with you. I don't think there's anything wrong with Totem Cruncher being buffed like this. Rat Catcher. This is a really useful card in like a death rattle kind of. Warlock, you can pop your eggs, things like that. I think you just bing bonk 2 mana. There was another card where I bumped down the mana because of a similar thing, like, oh, you can use it in like an egg deck, or if you want to pop your own death rattles, things like that. And I bumped down the mana. I forget what it was. It was probably I think it was like the Lackey one that does the same thing. Super simple. Now if you like kill an egg, it'll be like a 2/5. But for 3 mana, that was just too much of an overhead cost, in my opinion. Now it's, again, more in line with things like Terrascale Stalker, where Stalker triggers it and doesn't destroy it, but this destroys it and still technically triggers it, right? So, Stalker's 2 mana now. These cards that, like, destroy it can be 2 mana as well. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. Lord Godfrey. I mean, can Godfrey be 5 mana? Can it? I'm asking as like a genuine question. Could Lord Godfrey be 5 mana? It's a 1-time per game effect. Defile is 2 mana for 1 damage. Yes, it has a body, but it's an understated body. It's an undead, which counter-synergizes with a few undead cards in Warlock that are pretty good, actually. I think Lord Godfrey could be 5 mana. A control Warlock, Reno Warlock, hasn't been playable in years. So giving, good removal cards like Lord Godfrey definitely would help. I don't think there's an issue with this at all, in my opinion. I think this is fine. I think that Godfrey at 5 would be a lot more interesting, and it would help Warlock significantly in its slower decks. I think that Warlock needs to have its slower decks buffed by a lot because they're not the degenerate ones. No one has ever complained about slow Warlock decks. And if you have, I don't know what the fuck to tell you. But if you complain about, like, Disco Warlock, or Pain Warlock, or, like, what else is there? I mean, there's so many degenerate Warlock decks that buffing a control deck does not have any would not fucking cause issues, man. Come on. Woodcutter's Axe. I think that this is a really cool card, actually, that kind of just doesn't match up to today's game, right? I think that there's a few ways you could go about it. You could make it like a 1-mana 1/2 weapon, give the same effect, and it would be 3/3 total in stats. I think that would be fine. I think you could also make it Fiery War Axe stat line. I mean, is anyone gonna fucking complain that Fiery War Axe is being power crept 10 years later after it got reverted anyway? No. I don't think there's any issue with that. Let's be real here. Like, Woodcutter's Axe could easily be this. Fiery War Axe should have been reverted a long time ago. Probably after, like, after the core set was introduced, it should have been reverted. And then Woodcutter's Axe still could be better, like, in today's game. Vanilla, 2-mana, 3/2 weapon, probably not that great. This also pushes Pirate Warrior a lot, because now you have a good weapon, and that's part of the issue is Pirate Warrior doesn't really have a good weapon. Yeah, I mean, Pirate Warrior sucks. It's fucking terrible. I don't think there's any reason why we couldn't buff Woodcutter's Axe at all. Like, come on, dude. Black Howl Gunspire. This is such a weird card. I think first, it needs to have Taunt. Taunt. Can't attack. Whenever this minion takes damage, deal 3 damage to a random enemy. And then I think you increase the health. Let's see. Trying to format it better. There we go. Taunt, comma, can't attack. Whenever this minion takes damage, deal 3 damage to a random enemy, and that has 10 health. The whole point of giving it 10 health is so that if you play, like, Bladestorm, it technically deals 30 damage to the opponent on an empty board for 9 mana. That's hilarious, and I don't think anyone ever would complain about that, personally. That's just really fucking funny, actually. And then, you know, giving it Taunt, like, come on, dude. It's a giant minion that can't attack. It has to have Taunt. This is definitely where the card should be. Black Howl Gunspire is a really funny and iconic card from the Witchwood, and, like, come on, dude. What, like, fuck you, we goddamn ball. Black Howl Gunspire can get buffed. Black Walled Pixie. We have Popular Pixie in Druid, which is a 2-mana 2/3. Wow. Black Walled Pixie, I mean, come on. It fits the same design space as Garrison Commander. However, Garrison Commander says trigger twice. Black Walled Pixie is a battle cry, so it's a little bit different. A lot of even decks would really love this because, you know, a lot of even decks don't really... Actually, it's just kind of Druid, I think, that has more ways to hero power in a turn than just Garrison Commander. So, you know, knocking Black Walled Pixie down by 1/1 or 1-mana 1/1 helps a lot. You weren't running Black Walled Pixie in odd decks anyway, and if you were, why? Why? Actually, why? So, yeah, I think this is fine. I like this. Even decks would love this. It would just make a lot of even decks significantly better. You wouldn't even run this in something like even Shaman. Even Shaman wouldn't run this, but even Hunter would run this. Even Druid would probably run this, to be honest, for more hero power activations. Just good. It's just good. Voodoo Doll is a pretty iconic minion, if you remember playing in this era in Big Spell Mage with Frostlich Jaina specifically. I think that Voodoo Doll can be 2 mana. You have to pop it in some way to destroy a minion. There are 2 mana destroy a minion cards in the game currently with, like, Obliterate. This is effectively probably closer to 4 mana, though, because if you use your hero power on it in Mage or 3 mana with Even Mage, I think Voodoo Doll could be 2 mana. It probably would bring this card back. Genuinely speaking, it probably would bring it back. I'm not joking. In, like, certain control mage decks, slower mage decks, hero power mage would probably like this card. I think that there's no reason why we couldn't have Voodoo Doll as 2 mana. I'm just going to be honest with you. I don't really have much more to say about it, but It was just super popular with Frostlich Jaina. If Frostlich Jaina ever gets buffed, you want Voodoo Doll to come back, and 2 mana helps a lot. It was obviously coming. It's Dollmaster Dorian. I think just bink bonk 4 mana. Okay. So the current Dorian, I forget I don't even know what it's called. It's the new Dorian that came out in the mini set, is 4 mana 2/6. I don't see any reason why old Dollmaster Dorian can't be buffed to be 4 mana. You could play off Oaken Summons and do some juicy Psych Melon combos. That's kind of it. New Dorian currently isn't very good anyway. Like, yeah, people are memeing about, oh, it's going to be so strong. It probably will eventually be good and wild if there's, like, something that gets printed or a combo is found that people haven't discovered yet. But the current Dorian is pretty terrible. It's pretty fucking bad. So I don't see any reason why we couldn't make new Dorian similar in stat, or in mana cost at least. So yeah, 4 mana Dollmaster Dorian. Pretty simple. But yeah, if you enjoyed, make sure to like, comment, subscribe. Tell me what you think down below. Do you like any of the cards that I presented? Do you think that I should have done other cards? Do you not like any of the changes I made? Do you think any of them are too strong, too weak? You know the drill. And I'll see you guys next time. Peace.
Shadows are rising again!
Darker than they've ever been.